Many Western states are now fundamentally dysfunctional and out of touch with the needs of ordinary citizens. The old, rigid structures of the sovereign state are maladapted to a society that is economically, culturally, and religiously diverse and fragmented. Not to mention the fact that society is undergoing rapid social and technological change. One of the symptoms of the dysfunctionality of the modern state is the policies that our political class has latched onto in the name of social progress. These policies include the forced closure of thousands of businesses and schools across the West, all in the name of disease control, in the face of a disease with a relatively low infection fatality rate. The firing of care workers for refusing to accept an experimental vaccine. The imposition of a green agenda as an inevitability with minimal consultation with ordinary citizens on the ground and how these policies are likely to impact their lives. The introduction of trans ideology into our schools. The introduction of hate speech legislation, which in the case of, say, Ireland, was actually quite out of sync with popular sentiment. And of course, policies designed to accelerate immigration in the midst of a housing and healthcare crisis, as we have seen in numerous European countries, including Ireland. Why are our political structures broken? Well, first of all, because the civic culture, the beliefs, the attitudes, the habits, and the social norms that supported our democratic system are in decline and have become impoverished. Many ordinary citizens, as well as politicians, have lost touch with the values of a free society. But there's also a structural reason for our civic decline, which is the fact that highly centralized and rigid political institutions have lost touch with voter sentiment and have lost touch with problems on the ground. In addition, these highly centralized political institutions basically become a kind of funnel for one-size-fits-all policies that can result in system-wide failure, as we saw during the disastrous pandemic policies that left a generation scarred. It's time to take away some of the power that we have entrusted to national rulers and give it back to local communities. This requires a political movement that doesn't just seek to appoint a quasi-messianic ruler to sort of fix the system for all of us and basically just co-opt the existing centralized system. What we need, rather, is a political movement that is determined to fight to decentralize our political institutions and give power back to the people, back to local political communities. What would this look like in practice? Basically, it would entail that local and municipal governments would have substantial independent authority to set their own taxing and regulatory policies. Secondly, the tax burden should be shifted so that the majority of citizens' taxes are destined to local and regional levels of governance, so that local governments can answer to citizens for how they spend citizens' hard-earned money. Third, national, regional, and municipal governments should be checked by mechanisms of direct democracy so that citizens can collect signatures, and by collecting a sufficient number of signatures, they can force a public vote on an issue, or they can veto a law that has passed through Parliament or passed through a municipal assembly. All of these reforms should occur against the backdrop of a constitution that protects citizens' basic rights and liberties, including private property, freedom of religion, freedom of association, and of course, freedom of expression. No political system is completely risk-free or entirely immune from corruption and incompetence. However, political decentralization permits political experimentation at the local level. It permits dynamic and adaptable reforms, and it permits a larger measure of freedom for citizens because they can move between different jurisdictions and because they can hold their political representatives accountable more easily at the local level. Given the choice between sticking with a completely dysfunctional status quo or moving towards political decentralization, I think it's very clear that decentralization is the best option on the table right now.